Alright guys, once you've exported your UV map, you are going to open up Photoshop. And you want to go ahead and hit the open or go to your file menu and do file open. And you're looking for your UV map in your USB. So I already have one here. But it should say uv.png or whatever you named it. I want you to go over to your layers panel. Mine's located down here. If you don't see yours, you can hit this workspace button up on the top right hand corner and then select essentials, and it should look something like this. If not, you can go to the window menu, and look for layers here too. Alright, the first thing I want you to do is unlock this layer here if it's locked. And I want you to double click where it says layer 1 and call this UV map. Create a new layer, and you're going to drag everything below the UV map for now. So now we can lock this. And I want you to, if it's going to have a different color or it's going to be a different body part, I recommend that you name these whatever it is that you're painting. So for example, let's say I was going to do the hair. I'm going to double click on this and call it hair. You can use the brush tool located in your tools panel to brush on a color. You can also use shape tools if you wanted to. So I'm going to do like a light pink color here and do colors that way. That's why I said if you have stuff that's going to be the same color, it's easier if you were to group them together. So if this is all going to be the skin color, then I can, let me create a new layer, call this skin. But this is like, oops, double click to rename it. Skin, arms, eggs. You can be as specific as you want. Have the skin tone color here. Oops, I need to drag this down here. And it didn't put it in the right layer, so I'm going to rename this one. And I can do another one for this bottom part because I think these are the thighs. Alright, but that's for the simple things. Like I think this is the shoes, so maybe I'll show you how you would paint it on. Just make sure you're in the right layer when you're painting. Say that's the color that I want, then I can just paint in here. Okay. So those are just the basics of how I want you to color things. I'm going to move on to the face because the face one's probably the most important one. So I'll call this face. I'm going to grab my swatch here. You can always use the eyedropper tool to sample colors you've already used. I'm just going to paint this one and call this face base color. In case you wanted to add shading, I recommend more layers. But let's say I create a new one. This one's going to be face eyes. So how I want you to do the eyes and other facial features is, again, you're going to select your brush tool, and once you do that, up in the top your edit bar changes and you're looking for this little butterfly icon. It's called the symmetry tool, and you want to turn on vertical symmetry. This line pops up. I want you to place it in the center edge right there, and then I'm going to bring this down, bring this up to about right there. And you want to hit this little arrow or hit enter to confirm that this is where the symmetry is going to happen. I'm going to select the black fill. You don't have to do black. But the cool thing about the symmetry tool is that you just have to do one side of the face, and the symmetry tool is going to take care of the other side for you. So I'm just going to speed this up. Let's say you want that. I'm going to create a new layer, and let's say this is the white part of the eyes. The more layers, the better, but it's not necessary if you're not going to make it that detailed. I just like using separate ones because if I were to paint the white part here, oops, it's going to go underneath my black outline that I just made. And mind you, I'm doing this with a mouse, so this is pretty rough. And I don't have to worry about sticking inside of the line. So I'll show you if I were to move this forward, how that would look. But because it's in a separate layer, I have control. Other neat things you have, if you separate everything, is there's blending modes here in your layers panel that give you additional control. There's also opacity. So let's say I wanted to add blush. I'll soften my brush here. I'll grab like a pink color. Let's say I added blush right here. Ooh, maybe. Okay, I can come to my blending modes menu and then kind of change how it interacts with the bottom layers. So that's an example. This is great for highlights and if you wanted to do some shading. And opacity is over here. So just an idea. But once you're done coloring everything, I'm going to pause really quick to finish coloring this, and I will show you how to export and plug it into your mesh. Okay guys, so I actually had the wrong UV map. This one was a test one, so I'm just going to hit notice of that. But once you finish coloring and everything for the mesh, this seems a little off-centered. This, you want to do File, Save As, and this is UV Map Poly 2. You want to leave the first one as a PSD file, so in case you need to make changes, you can still come back and make changes. Then you want to do File, Export, Export As. This menu pops up. You just want to leave everything as is. Make sure PNG selected and transparency is on. And this is all should be going to the same folder that everything for your low poly is going into. There we go. Okay. So now we come back to Blender. You want to go over to your shading workspace. I'm going to hit 1 to go into front view really quick. You want to come down to your nodes down here, do Shift A, hover over texture, select image texture, and drop this over on the left hand side. Since we already created it, you hit open and you look for your, there's 2. Oh, you can do PSD too. If the budget allows, you can use a PSD file, because when you update this, it updates automatically in Blender. But if the budget is low and you need to save on space or file size, you would upload the PNG. Alright, and then you can connect the color node to the color input over here. Ooh. And that is looking a little strange for our map. Let's go over here. And I hope I didn't make too many changes. Let me check something really quick. The arms. Yeah, that's crazy why it's looking like that. I'm gonna go to layout. Could be that the UV map was slightly different. I know I did that a couple of times at school and then at home, but yours should look normal. Shouldn't have any of this black happening. Let me try getting rid of it really quick. Oops. Yeah, that's still different. Oh, I'm so silly. I know why that's happening, guys. So I'm actually gonna come here, and I forgot to hide this right here, the UV map. So I'm gonna do file save, and then file export. Yeah, you don't want the lines to be coming out, so I'm gonna replace this one for sure. Come back over here. Yeah. Much better. Yeah, so if you leave the lines from the UV map, it'll look exactly like it did earlier. So once you place it, you can still go back, make changes, and then re-import it here. If you wanted to fix the mesh, you totally can. I would have drawn in a nose and a mouth if I had time. But this is a good place to do a file save as. So file. This is textured now. We're moving on to the Mixamo animations now.